am Diane Coombs. Okay, I got something. It says, good afternoon. For the record, I am Diane Coombs, acting chair of the HCC. Let's confirm access. If all the members would reply when I call your name. Val,
Here.
Carrie,
Here.
Stephen.
Here.
Is that it? Do we have Johnny?
I'm here.
Johnny?
I'm right here.
Okay, you're here, so
Yes.
say aye, that's all. Thank you. And I am here also. So that, and the staff is Esmeralda,
Present.
Holly Bacchus,
Present.
Terry. Is Terry here with us?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. So that is it. This open meeting of the HCC is being conducted remotely, consistent with the Baker Executive Order of March 12, 20. That order, posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to convene remotely as long as public access to deliberations is reasonably provided. This meeting is convening via Zoom with video and audio recording, and we are being broadcast also via YouTube on the town's YouTube channel. With no members of the moment having asked to speak, this particular meeting will not feature public comment. Materials provided to the members of the meeting or provided during the meeting are, unless otherwise noted, available on the town website. During the meeting, I will introduce agenda topics and speakers. Please remember to mute your Zoom audio until your name is called. And let's direct all comments and questions through the chair to avoid crosstalk and make taking a minute easier. Lastly, all votes will be conducted by roll call. And with that said, we will move on to the meeting. However, I'm supposed to say something before calling to order that says, remember to mute your phone so that it doesn't get published wide. And what else are we supposed to do? I don't know. My thing ends. So let us call to order and let's, or do we have any change, Esmeralda? Do we have any changes in the approved agenda? No,
Nope,
no.
you can adopt it.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Here's Abby.
Somebody
So
make the
moved.
motion. All right, thank you. Val,
Aye.
on your motion.
Aye.
Donnie,
And Chairperson, would you, before we go continue, would you straighten up my picture being on its side? Thank you. Eliminate it. Thank you.
Did anybody hear him?
Yeah,
No.
I think he's complaining about being on his.
Yes, well, why is my picture on the spin for 2 months now on the side? Would
I
you
don't
please
know
take
what
it
that,
off?
I don't know that we can change that, Johnny.
can't.
It's,
If they put it
unless
on
you-
there, it must be right.
because the pictures that come are of a specific order and you can't change them to go side by side or up and down. It's the way it comes. It's the way it's presented. But we'll try and work with you as much as we can.
That's it?
Yeah, that's,
You're gonna leave
if
it
you
like
have a
that?
problem, if you have
Madam-
a problem, let us know.
Madam Chair.
You got to move your mic some. Yes,
I'm sorry, John's complaining that his camera is sideways. John, your camera, it's your camera that's sideways, not the software.
All right.
So you must have pushed a button somewhere or something. We don't mind seeing it this way, but
Somebody there has to have a brain.
yeah, well, I wasn't gonna say that, but yeah, somebody there needs to have a brain. I just suggest that we move along because it's not something that the software is doing. It's your camera, and I'll take a look at it this weekend if you help.
When you get it straightened out, let me know, okay? Bang.
okay. So,
And I've arrived.
okay, we have approved the agenda and we were just about to go into public comment, okay?
Yeah.
Um,
thanks.
Excuse me, but the vote on the agenda was interrupted with John complaining about his sideway camera. You had Val and Johnny. Could you please finish that?
Okay, Harry,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
me, I'm an aye. So now we are back to Abby.
What's that?
Whoever it was, I just muted them.
Oh,
Please keep everybody muted if you're not speaking. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Are we going to talk about this Article 8? Is that? Or are we going to skip to our?
Madam Chair, we need to. If you're ready to bring it up, then let's bring it up. If I may, as your staff liaison, and I will be in attendance with the FinCom this afternoon. So I would like to be able to provide comments to FinCom on where you all feel. I'm going to share my screen and show you the proposed amendment to the special act that a citizen is proposing for you all to consider. And consider the obviously the ramifications of it. With that, I know Ray's not here for this conversation, but I have spoken with Ray, and he wanted me to know that he is against having changes to our special act from 1955. Yes, it be that may that it has been amended, I think about 11 times since 55, but he is against any changes to the special act to suit a special interest group. But here is the language that they're proposing. It's this section down here in the section of the special act that says, in the case of new construction or additions to existing buildings or structures, the Historic District Commission shall consider the appropriateness of the size and shape of the building or structures, both in relation to the land area upon which the buildings or structures situated, and buildings and structures in the vicinity, and outside the town and Sconset historic districts shall reasonably allow for the visible integration of solar panels and renewable energy systems. And the commission may, in appropriate cases, impose dimensional and setback requirements in addition to those required by applicable by law. I wanted to mention, first of all, we have a word in here, shall, that can be very problematic in this. I also wanted to also show you, as you all are aware, we have our special acts. Other historic districts in the Commonwealth follow that are not fortunate enough to have a special act like we do, follow MGL, Massachusetts General Law 40C. And Chapter 40C has a section in here. This is just something for us to think about.
No,
No, I know. I'm just throwing this out there because the language that's within Chapter 40C is an alternative to look at. I just, just for conversation's sake. They had said in here, let's see, when ruling on the applications for the certificate of appropriateness for solar energy systems as defined in section 1A of Chapter 40A, the commission shall also consider the policy of the Commonwealth to encourage the use of solar energy systems and to protect solar access. The commission shall not consider interior arrangements or architectural features. So I want to also point out the fact that you all have solar guidelines that you use on a weekly basis.
Right.
That in addition has also been utilized within a guide for historic district commissions across the country. In Nantucket was used as a case study back in 2009 in a document called Energy Efficiency, Renewable Energy, and Historic Preservation. So Nantucket has actually been in the front runner of this conversation, and to imply that it being not within our special act that you all are not taking into consideration, I think is kind of absurd in that regard. So I will leave it to the chair. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great, Holly. Thank you for bringing that up. And
I will answer.
Diane,
I
did you
will-
want to comment?
Yeah, I don't want it all in my local vernacular, but I am against it. I've never heard of such a thing that the solar panel people are pushing. It tells us how we should do something. Pretty soon, then the one type of house will come up and say, we have to approve this house. Another one will come up with that. It's ridiculous. We have a perfectly workable solar panel article that we devised that works for us very well and protects the island. And I think all this stuff, I read it, I couldn't really believe it. I thought I read it wrong. Or I didn't understand it, but having heard you, Holly, and what you have to say, my point would be to say no.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you, Diane. Valerie,
Yes. I also, well, the way it's written by the citizen, I think is not significantly different from how we act on these presently. Shall reasonably allow. I think we reasonably allow. We have very simple rules. Not on the front of the house, not on a main mast. Try to integrate it with the roof shingles. And if possible, a ground mount, if nothing else. I'm definitely against the state section that we looked at, because I do not think we should incorporate policies that the state makes. We'd be changing this act constantly. So I think we need to stay away from that. And I think what we have in place is working for us. So I also would be against allowing this, because I do think it's going to open the door for every special interest group to come along and add some sort of clause to our enabling legislation. You can't not approve housing. You can't not approve banners. You can't, whatever. So that's my point.
yeah, very, very well said, Val. John,
I'm here.
yeah, what do you think of adding to our Bible here about solar?
You gotta leave it alone. It's doing fine right the way it is.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend. So I think I got the board members. Could I hear from Stephen? Are you here?
Yeah, I think we're board members.
Yeah. Could you
Yeah,
comment?
I think that I agree with what John said. I agree with what Ray said. I agree with what Val has said, and I agree with what Diane says. I would only add that I think, to be inserting this section and the other sections of the act address characteristics and categories, whereas this is inserting a particular type of an architectural element. I think it leaves many, many issues that will befall the community unaddressed in the future, including maintenance, derelicts, where these things are going to go in the landfill, There's a host of things that, you know, unintended consequences are where it's at. And I think we need to consider those in a discussion before we codify shall do this and shall do that. I don't disagree with Val. I think on the fact that we do reasonably allow these, someone may say, well, why won't you then put it in the act? Well, I think because what that does is it ratchets up the level of appeals where the town will then be fighting these in the state court system as opposed to the select board. The select board, I think, has appropriately and reasonably stated that I think, except for rare exception, our determinations on solar were appropriate. I believe the ones that have come in front of us that were inappropriate were put there to bring us to this point where legislation in the form of an amendment to the act could be, examples could be used. And what I mean by that is the particular applications that were appealed were directly in contradiction to the guidelines. And I think that if this does get put into place, then what I mean by this will go to state court is there's a higher level of interpretation. Given frankly, I think this is sloppy language, no offense to anyone who drafted it. But it's intentionally, while it says shall, it's also intentionally enough ambiguous that it will end up having to be fought in a court of law to whoever has the deeper pockets. So for all those reasons, I think if we were to vote as a commission, that we would vote to take no action or to issue a negative recommendation rather. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Carrie,
I agree with everybody who's spoken. I think the language is interesting. It sounds more like a mandate about having to allow versus what we do, which is to determine the appropriateness for where the properties are. And that's, I think our mandate is the appropriateness, not that we have to do it. So that's all. Everyone else was very eloquent.
yeah, it's amazing. You guys are great. So I think now, because this is sort of a general thing, I'm just getting a feel. Is Jesse here, by the way? I think that's
Madam
enough.
Chair, no, he is not here.
No. Okay, so I think, wow, you guys are very eloquent on that. Do I hear someone would like to do a motion on this?
I would make a motion to have a quick outline draft presented to the FinCom that specifically references the points we've just made, if possible for Holly. I know you've got short time, but if Holly could just play the tape and jot those down as bullets and restate them to the FinCom, I think that would allow us to eliminate anything that's redundant. And I think it's a fairly clear and appropriate message. So that would be my motion, to present our points to the FinCom at their meeting this afternoon.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, Holly, how do you feel about that?
That was my plan, Madam Chair.
That was your plan already. Okay, so on Stephen's vote, let's go down. Diane Coombs.
I don't see Diane.
I.
Oh, yeah, very good. Okay, John. John, are you with?
What is the question?
Motion? John,
I say leave it alone, straighten out my picture. Thank you.
okay. And then Val
I concur with everything that we've said, yes.
and Carrie.
Aye.
And I am too. Thank you very much for that.
Madam Chair,
What?
Madam Chair, just a point of information I wanted before I vote. Can we determine, is the proponent here? Did they speak on this? I mean, I know it's a little late, but I didn't
No,
raise my hand.
through you, Madam Chair, no, the proponent for the article is not here, However, in the short notice that we were notified that FinCom was going to be discussing, that's why it was on your agenda. I do believe that they will be at FinCom this afternoon, or a representative will be there.
Okay, I'll vote in the affirmative if we're still voting, if my vote counts. And then, but I would like to add a point to it. And Madam Chair, if you'll entertain the comment. And Terry, you would have to say how to do this, but I think it should be noted as one of the points that this was never presented to the HDC for consideration for discussion of development. And not least of which the proponent didn't even show up at the meeting to discuss it. So I think those are all three, like, one point with subsections.
That's a really important point, that, yeah, that they just sort of put it in there without our discussing it. That's,
I have a question.
yeah, Val.
So whether or not the FinCom gives us a negative or positive recommendation, it can still be discussed or called at town meeting. So be aware that it's important to go to town meeting if you feel strongly about these things and stand up for it.
Right,
That's all.
otherwise we'll get pushed around.
Stand up and be counted.
Okay, so Stephen is also, yeah, thank you, Stephen, for that. And I think that is a go, Holly. I think we're all set. So should we turn to the first, oh God, I just put something on my fingers. Oh, what is the first?
I hate when the lotion gets in the way. Oh,
Oh, 3 Timo Way.
Abby,
Yes,
on Tuesday, you had Johnny on this and he was not sitting on it. So the vote to approve is basically invalid. So what you guys have to do is, with the proper board, revote it. Just revote it. So if you just all think you can go with a motion to approve, just make it and roll right on.
Motion
But
to
Johnny was
approve.
not on it.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Terry, for picking
Yeah.
that up. Motion to approve with the proper board, which doesn't include John.
so that's everybody that was just on?
It's
No,
Camp,
that's-
Coons, Oliver, Thornwell.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the girls.
Okay, very good. Is that a motion, Val?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
so on Val's motion, Diane,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
I'm one, and Val on your motion.
aye.
Okay, here we go.
What do you think I'm doing?
John, you're
You
not
weren't
on
on
it.
it, Johnny.
Everybody, John, did you get that? There was a chorus of,
I really appreciate the way I've been treated in the last
John,
year.
John,
you.
I'm sorry, you weren't on that one. So it's, it was myself, Diane, Val, and Carrie. Okay, so,
Which one are you?
You're on the next
Yeah.
one. You're on the next one.
okay. 34 Easton Street. You're on this one, John.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay?
Hold on one second. Abby is not on this, so Diane will have to chair.
Okay,
Oh, good.
all right. So who's
Thank you.
presenting? Wait a
Hi,
minute.
good afternoon, everyone. Chip Webster
Okay.
here. And
Are you Chip? Are you Chip Webster?
that is me, right here.
That's you. All right.
And I am representing the project, 34 Easton. And if I can share my screen, I'd love to walk through the project.
Floors are yours, Chip.
Okay, did that come through? All right.
Yep.
Yep, that's good.
So I would just like to say I'm really excited now about this project. We've had some great feedback in the previous reviews. And I went down the proverbial rabbit hole of historical research on this section of Easton Street. And I just kept getting further and further, and I started getting into the families and things, and then I had to pull back. But what I'd like to start with today is what I found during that historical research. So this first photograph, which is from 1905, shows this is the property, 34 Easton. And you can see on one side is 32, we have 36, 40, and 42. So in this photograph, you can see that the houses at the time, historically, were virtually all 3-story houses, close to each other, sizable massing, wide porches. Interestingly also, they were all elevated. So back in the day, they knew about this flooding and things like that, and actually responded to it very appropriately. I'm going to scroll down to a next picture that's a little bit closer. Pretty much the same thing, but just a sort of a slightly clearer picture. You can see the houses typically had, wide porches, the width of the house on the water side. Again, they're elevated. There's third floors and third floor dormers pretty much throughout. So looking at each of them individually from the street side. I got these great photos.
Oh,
This
they're
is,
beautiful.
so this is 32, which no longer remains. This was the house to adjoining the property. Again, you can see large porches, large massing. This is the house that pre-existed at 34. A great little family photo with the dog that is the same size as the children almost. This is 40, which, you can see some also. So one of the things that I also, when I was looking through these photos, I was drawn to some of the detailing. And you'll see in our proposal, we're starting to pick up some of that detailing. For instance, this has the crossbuck railing system. And we are looking to adapt a version of that for our project. When I say adapt, this particular railing would not meet current code. So we're using an adaptation. But again, you can see the height of the structures. The first floors are way up there. 42. Okay, so I'll just go right up. So you can see from all of these a great little history of what was in the area. Here's our locus plan, site plan, and then let's start with the street side. So on this drawing, we're showing our original submission, the previous submission, and now our current submission. So what we now have is we've reduced the main forward-facing mass of the house to 38 feet wide, which is approximately 1/2 of the width of the lot. And then we have broken down smaller masses behind that. You can see a 1-story element, which we'll be looking at in elevation in a second, that comes down. We are maintaining the hip roof, which was well received by the board on the last submission. And we are proposing, you can see and I might blow this up a little bit. Did that blow up okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you can see we're proposing what I call an adaptation of the railing style. And what's going on here is it's pretty much a standard crossbuck with a 2x4 construction, and then vertical 1.25" round spindles that come across that are sort of secondary to that first system, but then allow the railing to meet current code. So again, I'm going to zoom back out so I can go to the next image. This is the side facing 32, which is you can see we've got the front mass, we've got a secondary mass, we have a connecting link between, and that connecting link we brought down to 1.5 stories. For what it's worth, this side is going to be completely blocked by the existing structures that are at 32. This is the water side, again, bringing in that same railing detail. In the previous submission, we had very similar proposed fenestration on the first and second floor. There's a comment that that should be broken up a little bit, so we've done that. We've also done a detail that it was in some of those reference photos where it's a gable, but it comes in a little bit with a slight hip coming across, and we've integrated chimney masses into those two sides. And again, utilizing the hip dormer element on the upper level. And this is sort of my favorite side here. So this will be substantively blocked here. You will see some of this front because the adjoining house is set back. But you can see we've got that center section coming all the way down to a first floor roof with an integrated hip dormer. This is the side of the water massing. And then I think this is a lot of fun here. Just add some character and interest to it. We've got a staircase that comes up onto that second floor. And this is recessed in between these masses. So although we're looking at it directly in elevation here, you wouldn't see that from the front elevation. So with that in mind, I'm going to come back to our street side and turn it over to comments from the board, please.
Thank you. Holly, do you have anything on this?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. HSAB did take a look at these revisions as you all had requested in your last review. Just remind the commission that this is replacing the Seward Johnson House, which was built in the 1960s. So this is an infill within the old historic district, and that the structure should follow the resilient Nantucket design guidelines that you all adopted last year. HSAB took a look at this on January 18th. They said, compared to the neighbors, this house is set too close to Easton Street for such a tall structure. Neighboring houses have smaller secondary structures up close to the road, reducing the impact from Easton Street. This building is still too wide, too boxy, and lacking appropriate additive massing. The north facade is an improvement, but the west elevation shows extremely chaotic massing. The various shed roofs, dormers, decks, and exterior stairway don't relate to one another in any sense of order. The rear wing to the south is actually more dominant than the forward main mass. Rather than being a full 2 stories, this wing should step down considerably for proper additive massing. The second floor deck projects off the building greater than what is normally allowed. The south facade facing the harbor is too tall, too wide, and too monolithic. The massing needs to be broken up and the second floor deck reduced in length and width. The tall shed roof connector to the east is very awkward and inappropriate. This house needs to be scaled down and redesigned to fit into the neighborhood context. Ideally, this would be split into 2 structures with the smaller lower one closer to the street. And HSAB does respectfully request to see further revisions if you're so inclined. I do want to give Chip a props to doing some more research on Easton Street. So thank you for those photographic the photos, the historic photos. I mean, that really emphasizes the vernacular that was there on this lot prior to the Seward Johnson house. So I do appreciate that. Thank you. And it does, your revisions shows the vernacular going that direction, if that makes any sense, and of the neighborhood of the time. I do echo HSAB's comments on the ridge being very long on the east and west elevations. It should be dropped. And I do agree that there should be additional additive massing. It's still kind of boxy as it was previously before, but I do think you're moving in the right direction. So Madam Chair, those are my comments for your consideration. Thank you.
What happened? So, do you hear me?
Yep.
I can hear you.
Oh, it just all of a sudden, I don't know. It's a pain. Okay, so thank you, Holly, very much. I'll start with Val.
Okay, I agree with Holly and HSAB on a lot of things. I do think, Chip, you're moving in the right direction, so that's great, and the pictures are awesome. What I think, I have it blown up on my other computer here, that with the historic photos, the side facing the water, it seems, in the historic photos predominantly have some interplay on that side. And what I mean by that is there are pieces and parts of the buildings that bump out, even on the former structure. That looked like there was a little bay or something in the middle, number 34. So I think it's missing that. And I agree about the rear mass being bigger than the front mass. That was, I was trying to figure out what about it was disturbing me a little bit. And just in general, if you look towards your historic photos, with the exception of the sun porches that were probably closed in later on, people didn't have double and triple and triple windows. So I think a
Right.
great deal of rethinking with regard to windows is in order, especially on the water facing side. And I believe it's the east. Less is more. Those structures were grand, but there just wasn't 5 windows in every single space. I like the railing detail. So keep going. That's it.
Thank you, Val. Stephen, are you there?
I don't have Stephen on this. Am I right or wrong?
You're
Oh, maybe
correct.
not.
Madam,
Maybe-
Madam Chair, it is Paul, well, Paul's not here. So McLaughlin, Coombs, Oliver, and Thornwell.
I'll go.
Okay, yes, please do.
Can we get back to the drawings? I love the historic photographs. Unfortunately, the water view doesn't look like that anymore. The buildings have a lot less mass to them that this one does. I do think on this front elevation, that roof coming down as an extension is out of character. It's not correct with this building. And I think maybe if you hip the 1-story part of it, it will read as a additive mass, and then maybe rework the back mass so it doesn't read so big from the front. And I think the dormers should be hipped. All the dormers should be hipped. I know you've got some of them, but then there are a couple sheds which just seem out of character as well. I agree with a lot of what Val said on the rear elevation. Yeah, the windows read consistent throughout every level, but also on the roof, I think a single dormer up on that 3rd floor would be more appropriate. And that also goes back to the historic photographs. It seemed like there was sort of a central thing in some of the roofs rather than a double, because it really makes this mass read very long. And it would be great to see the whole 3rd floor hipped somehow, so it doesn't have that long, huge ridge across it. Other than that, I think, yeah, I appreciate all the stuff you have done so far.
Thank you, Carrie. Johnny,
Have the east, please. East elevation, bring it up 3 notches, please. I'm starting again. You can't read it.
he needs it up on the main page. Right now, we're getting his picture.
With that, you should have the east elevation. Are you seeing that?
Well, yeah, I can see it. That's fine, but it doesn't mention what the elevation it is.
All right, I'll pull it back down a little bit. Well, I'm sorry. I apologize, John. I did the west elevation. Let me go back to the east.
All right,
There we go. East elevation.
right there. Okay, now you see on the left side, the 2nd floor deck with the cross bucks. as well as the first, but it's more than 8 feet off that wall. So that's one of our policies, not to exceed 8 feet off the wall. So what are you gonna do here? Nobody?
Madam Chair, should I reply to John's question?
Let's get what else he has
Okay.
to say first, and then
Yeah.
we'll go back.
Got it. Thank you.
Johnny, go on.
It doesn't have a roof on it, so it's fine. You know, the one on the right side has a roof over it. That looks typical. But to have just that porch up there like that, as in the past, 8 foot was our limit. It's written right in a guidebook. Are we gonna do it, or are we gonna start giving them away? This is just disgusting.
No,
this
you
shit.
just say you just say what you don't want to have. Don't put a question to us yet until we come up with a motion, okay? You just tell us what else you want to bring up.
I'm going by with the policy. I'm gonna stick to it. I don't think it would be 8 foot, and here we are, we're allowing 12. It's happened with me. I just want to know what's going on.
Okay, we'll tell you in just a little bit. So now we've got John, we have done Val, we have done Coombs, me, McLaughlin, and we have no Carrie,
Yes, I've spoken already, Diane.
you told me.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's just me, sorry, the dog jumped on my agenda and I had to pull it off together. My thought is the fenestration of the house to me is too much. That east elevation is just straight windows, mulled, triple mulled. It's not, even though it's being built now and it's in between houses of various ages, it still should conform with what is down on the avenue. And I don't feel that it is down on mixing with the other houses. I think it needs less windows. You don't need 400 windows, although it's really 28, but 28 windows on one wall, it's too much. It's not looking at anything particular. You may not be able to see some of it, but to me, it's too many. I appreciate the fencing, the little crossbucks. I think that will work. John brought up the problem of the deck on the first and second floor on the front elevation was too long. I don't know, I can't see if you've got sizes there, but it looks longer than the one on the right. I appreciate the chimneys because I think that's good. I would like to see the shed dormer on the second floor reduced to a single dormer with one window in it, or not a shed dormer, but see if you can mix it up with the other two that are there. And it seems out of place on that thing. The front elevation, if I could see that quickly. I think the front elevation basically is good. It's simple and fits in, and we reduce those decks down a little bit to more in the proposal. I haven't seen the site plan. I wanted to check out what was said, that it was too close to Easton Street.
He did. You see that okay?
Yep.
If I may,
I'm
sorry, go ahead, please.
That's right. I'm the last one. I agree with what a lot of Hashab said and what I said specifically about the windows. So anyway, what do you want to add to?
Just a couple of minor things that I would add. This, if you see on the site plan, there's a dotted line right here. So that is
Yep.
the Conservation Commission required setback from the water. So you can see we do have some room here. In the next iteration, we will move that back further from the street and get that as close as we can to that Conservation Commission setback. And the only other thing I was going to add, let me just see, I can kind of show it on the south elevation. The element that John was referring to that's coming out more than the 8 feet is this little section in the middle. This deck is 8 feet, this deck is 8 feet, and we brought that out to just add some character to this area. It projects out just to cover the steps that come down off of that side. And I thought that was sort of a fun way of introducing some character. That being said, I think we've gotten some really excellent and constructive comments from the board, and I'm going to relook at this entire side, so we may change that as well.
Okay, and just check the number of windows you have sort of on each elevation, okay?
Absolutely, yes. We're not coming
All
back
right,
with
let me see
28
if I can
windows.
get a motion. Thank you.
Motion to
Thank you,
hold
thank
for
you.
some revisions.
Thank you very much, Val. Carrie,
Aye.
Johnny,
Yes,
Johnny,
yes,
can you give me a vote on, the vote in front of us is we're holding for revisions. Can you do that, please?
wait a minute, you're confusing me now.
Can
Now,
you- Give me,
is a motion been made?
we're on 34 East. A motion has been made to hold for revisions. And I need your vote.
I think you ought to take that straight back up that deck on that side. That's our policy. What are we gonna do? All depends who it is or a friend doing something.
We're going to,
It's being held
No,
for
Johnny, we're
revisions.
not going to tell him specifically. What? We're not going to tell him what to do. We've asked for revisions. It would be included in the revisions.
Repeat the motion, please.
And you
Madam
make a vote
Clerk.
whether you want. The motion is to hold 34 Easton Street for revisions and return to Hashab.
If they make a change on that, fine with me.
Take that as a yes.
You better believe it.
I'll take that as a yes.
Yeah.
So, and I am, yes, I got Val, I got Carrie, I got me, I got Johnny McLaughlin. So it is a vote, the whole thing. The next one, Chip, is 26 Washington Street.
Yes, and so again, Chip Webster is here on behalf of the applicant. And let me come to share screen. And let me know if that came up okay. Did that come up all right?
Not yet. And Madam Chair, through you, because
No,
these two applications are, one of them is for the demo of the existing structure and the other one is for the new one, I think it may be beneficial to have the demo move first, but that's up to you. It's just my recommendation.
okay,
Okay,
no, that's a good idea.
and that works for me. So let's bring that up. Did that come up okay?
Make sure John knows what we're doing.
Yes,
Oh, shoot, sorry.
this is now,
No, I'm gonna close
this
this.
is,
How about now?
this has now come up to, that's good. We're on
Okay.
1892.
All right, hello, everyone. Chip Upshur again. This is 26 Washington Street. We have two applications. We're reviewing the one for the demolition. The demolition is, both of these are renewals of previous, well, I should say no. The demolition is a renewal of
Hold
the
on,
previous.
Chip, 1 second. I think, Diane, it says I'm the chair of the move off if we're doing the move off, and you're chair of the roof walk renovation.
Yeah, you better take over. You take over the move off.
And yeah, you come right back in. Go ahead, Chip. Sorry.
Okay, no
Just
problem,
noted
no
that.
problem. So there were two requests from the board at the last round. One was to find the minutes from the original approval, and one was to do a closer look through the Sanborn maps as to what information they may provide us. So what we're looking at right now is the original approval for the demo move off, which was May of 2017. This was approved unanimously at the first meeting, carried 5-0. And we can see it was Holcombs, McLaughlin, Camp, and Oliver were sitting on it. And even probably of more importance, the Sanborn map. So 1887. So in 1887, and it's kind of hard to see here, there was nothing there, but as you'll see in the later one, I'm going to just hop right to the next, from 1892. The land then didn't even actually exist at that time. So you can see the shore was coming up here and then came around and back. And this, as best we can tell, is the existing brick structure that is still there. So the location of the property was right here, which in that time was in the water. Moving forward to 1898, you can see that there was some fill now being added along this, but again, the location of the existing structure is about where my cursor is. So it would have been slightly on this beach area, but majority would still be in the water at that time. 1904, there's a little more accretion, but again, the property was still not there. 1909, same. So 1923, the shape of it is now, as best we can tell, probably pretty close to what is there now. This doesn't show any structures at that time. Oops, oh, sorry. I don't know why that changed size. So in 1923, it looks like there might have been a little something next to the street, but not what is there currently. And then we have the original application, the stamped approval application, attached as well. So there we go. I turn it over to the board for comments.
Okay,
And if I can get this freaking thing to work. Sorry about that. All right, go ahead.
Diane, did you want me to do this? You can do it. If
yeah, I
you're-
want to. No,
What
no,
is-
you do it. I'm delighted not to do it.
Let me just make sure. Terry, am I supposed to be chairing this? Or Esmeralda, or
Yes, Madam Chair, you are on this one, so you are chair.
on the move off? Okay.
Correct. And I
Yeah,
do have
yeah,
comments.
this one has a different board. It's Abby, John, Diane, Stephen, and Carrie.
Oh, thank you, Terry, for that. So Holly, let's start with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just to remind the commission that the NHL data for this property does say a circa 1950. Obviously, that's contributing to the old historic district sense of time, place, and historical development. I am aware of the 1923 Sanborn map, and the Sanborn map actually shows a structure there. I don't know if, how we can discern whether or not that actually is the subject structure in question. Also, I did want to notate that the 2017 COA for the demo move was actually based on, if you read the minutes, was based on that the structure was built in 1980. So in my opinion, that would be erroneously approved. You can see that where it says from Oliver, there is nothing old about this building. It's circa 1980s. There is no HDC survey on file. Obviously, we know that that's something that has been an imperative from both a planning perspective, historical perspective, and HDC's perspective to work on, and we are currently working on updating our historic resources surveys. I do, if it's okay with you, Chip, I'm gonna stop your sharing. I want to show the commission. I do have some photographs that HSAB actually wanted me to show you all. Bear with me. So they reviewed this on January 18th on the demo move off. They said this section of the existing building closest to Washington Street appears on the 23 Sanborn map, which I know Chip had, which is down here, and should be retained. It was moved back to create parking in the 1980s, and an addition was added to the harbor side. Any new addition should replace the newer section, but not obliterate the original historic structure facing Washington Street. 2 photos of the original building closer to the street have been submitted to Holly. The previous approval of the new replacement building was based on the thinking that this was a newer building and could be demoed. The demo should be reconsidered with this new evidence. And I would agree with that. I think right now we're, first of all, it was clear that the information that was provided previously was based on the fact that it was assumed that it was built in the 1980s. And clearly that was probably based on information that there was an addition done, or a larger substantial addition done to it in the 80s. And based on this information, the Sanborn maps, it's really hard to discern on the exact age just on this information without a little bit more digging for you all to make a clear decision on this proposed demo. I just wanted to bring this information out to you because it is important. Oh, here's another photo. I forgot. That's the,
Oh, yeah.
the elevation.
The anchor, I remember that.
So at some point this was pushed back.
Madam
Okay.
Chair,
And the anchor is still there.
So that's for your
So-
consideration, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Chip, do you have pictures of today, the way the,
If I can reshare, I can bring up some photos. Okay.
Madam Person.
hold on,
Okay.
John.
Yes, may I make a comment while we're on this? Bring up that past photo, please, of Washington Street.
Oh, boy, okay,
Well,
we're-
anyway, the
hold
one
on
that has-
one sec, John.
All right, the one that has the red anchor on it.
Well,
Okay.
do you want me to stop sharing, or should I continue with the photograph?
Mr. Webster, I'm just trying to give some information, okay?
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, Holly, so you can reshare that anchor photo, please.
Okay, now let me go ahead with it. All right. There's a picture of the anchor, red anchor. All right. Very few people know the history of it, but it's important. It was found offshore by a fishing boat and brought it in, and they hung it on that building for years that I can remember. And then all of a sudden, somebody had it down on the ground and he didn't want it. So he says, take it out of here. So I took it and I had it in front of my house down on Orange Street for years. Then I gave it to a guy. He says, if you go out the road to the airport road, on your right, you'll find 2 or 3 anchors there, and that red one is there. So if anybody wants to know the history of that anchor, that's where it came from. Thank you. I have no other comments.
That's amazing, John. That's really fun information. Thanks for that. So I was looking for what that row of buildings looks like today. Is that
Well, that's why I'm going through some photos right now. These are all water side. Let me see. Continuing on if we have a street side. For some reason, one of these
That's the water.
photos. There we go. The one photo that we're trying to find doesn't seem to have, that's a side photo. Okay, so the best photo that we have currently in this file is going to be this, I'm sorry, side photo here.
and that's looking that's coming going north towards that's not really showing the street side.
No, it's not. Unfortunately,
No.
it looks like the street side photo, for some reason it's clipped. So we can obviously we can supplement this with that if or whatever. I mean, one of the okay. I'm sorry. This is all we have right now on photos for today.
Madam Chair, I can bring up Google Street if you want to see
Right.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, I'm trying to see the evolution, if this building has any historic value.
There we go.
That
And
anchor was put
this
there.
is the one that might have been on from 1923, is that?
This is a current photo.
This is, yes, this is a current street view, Madam Chair, but if you compare, this is the silhouette of the structure that was in those photos that I provided to you
Right.
all.
And
Yeah.
the ones to the left have disappeared, the bigger ones that went towards town.
Those commercial.
Those, that's on Commercial Wharf over there.
Right, but no, I meant to the left of this
It
building.
looks
Yeah,
like
that's
the
better.
main, it looks like that main mass is reflective of the historic structure.
Yeah, okay, so this is what we've got, okay. And that's what we're demoing, or?
That's what.
That's what
Is
they're
that
proposing,
not what
Madam
we
Chair.
Chip?
This is,
So this is the existing structure, and we're looking to renew the previous approval to move demo it.
and when
This
was
is
that
what we're looking-
approved? When was that
Uh,
approved, Chip?
May of 17.
Because it seems to me that I was told once that a previous approval almost is an automatic renewal simply because the current board can't really negate what the original board did. Just because of time. I understand that there's been more information on the
That is-
history of the building. So that comes into play as a unique situation because there's obviously more information about the history, and the original approval is not quite correct in its dating of the building. So it's a little complicated.
It also expired too. They're only good for 3 years, so,
Right.
but that's the biggie right there.
Yeah.
I'll go.
Okay, let's hear from the board. Go ahead, Diane.
Okay, first of all, I believe it's to answer Carrie is that it can be changed. It doesn't mean because it was approved 7 years ago, it's going to have to be approved this time. And the information that was supplied to us at that time, whatever board it was incorrect. So
Right.
I do not think that we are guided by that it was granted in 1917 with 2017 with bad information. Second of all, I do not, this building was picked up and put back, moved back in order to get parking in front. It has a historic tree on the right-hand side. And I think it's inappropriate to demo or move it. It is part and the last part of the buildings on Washington Street that end up at the old part of Washington, 1923 or whatever Holly came up with as the most modern, is appropriate where it is and not appropriate to be demoed. You can see the old front of the building right there. A porch was put on, but the building and the little shed on the right is right there from where it was. The rear with all those porches were put on. I don't remember, but I was sitting on the board at that time. I just don't remember when it was. If that wanted to be redesigned, that would be all right, but I would be totally against demoing the front part of the building at all.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Madam
Thanks,
Chairperson.
Diane. Yes, John.
Yes, I have another comment while you get the photo there. You notice on the left photo, there's two windows upstairs. All right, to the left of that is where the ankle was. Now, that porch was not there. The only thing that was there, I'll say in 1940s, I say 45. The width of that end wall right there with the two windows, that was the main front of that building. It didn't have the other side of it, the back of it. Now, you look on the right photo, that second floor there with the roof over it, and the second floor were added on. I'll say this is after 1970 that I remember they were working on it. And there've been 3 changes in this building over the years. We'll say from 1950 forward. They changed ownership and they put those 3 additions on, and that's where they came from. And the archway there with the gate, that wasn't there. It wasn't there 20 years ago. I'm just giving you the facts of my life on it. So that's what the building is.
Thank you,
No.
John. Stephen, what is your take on this?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'd like some just some points of information. Who was on the original board that voted to approve it?
I was.
Sorry, Diane, I'm talking to the chair. Through you, Madam Chair, to Holly.
No.
Can you-
Like Val, oh, here we go. Johnny McLaughlin, Camp, Oliver, Coombs, and Pohl. And it was represented by Ethan Griffin.
And what specifically was the change in information? What's the span of years difference?
Actually, I was trying to read that. Oh, no, it says May 9th, 2017.
No, I'm sorry, the
Oh.
age of the building.
1980s versus.
Oh, that original profile with that had the anchor on it?
Yeah,
I thought it was 1923. I thought that was in the.
Yeah,
picture.
that's what I have
Ma-
down too.
Madam Chair, could I add a
Okay,
bit
yes,
of
please.
information?
Yeah,
If we could go back to those meeting minutes. Stephen, I think this might answer your question. So in our presentation, we had ascertained that the building was from 1950. So you can see in the representation from Ethan, who was working with me at the time, since 1950, the boat building was built and has since been encompassed. So the reference to the date 1980 was actually by one of the commission members during the review, where Val said there's nothing old about this building, it's circa 1980s. So I just wanted to, there seems to be some question as to whether or not we had provided erroneous information, but as you can see in these minutes, we did reference that the 1950, the building was moved and encompassed the remainder of the building. So I just wanted to point that out.
yeah. I'm
Okay,
not
so-
sure if Val was talking about that particular part of the building. She might have been talking about the back with all that.
I
Well,
honestly don't remember.
Okay, thank you. So, but in reading the minutes from the meeting, it indicates that Chip testified under oath, under blood oath, that this was something dating to around the 1950s. So we're talking about a span of some 30 years. Okay, I just trying to get information so I understand. I do agree. It is longstanding tradition that a previous approval is extended. I understand that this even with Governor Baker's extension due to COVID, that this would miss the extension would have expired. Chip, if you'd come in maybe a few months ago, I think you would have been covered. So though that's just kind of I'm looking at it from the legal standpoint of what's in front of us and also what's been testified to. I have no concern about relocating the structure. I don't think that, aside from the anchor that John's already pilfered, and its whereabouts unknown, I personally am not seeing a architectural element that is historic that is necessary to save. I do appreciate the efforts and I do appreciate the documentation. And those are my comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Stephen. Is the application for a move, for a demo or move off?
It is an application for a move demo. So as is customary with all move demo projects, it would be, we would try and find a new home for it. And we always reach out to the housing groups on every single project we have where there's a potential house. So that would absolutely be part of our process to try and find a new home for it.
Thank you. And Carrie, did you go? I can't remember.
I did, but after Stephen has spoke, I thought more about this existing massing. If that is the existing mass, you can see how much it has been altered. It's been lifted. Its windows have changed. There's been a third floor dormer added. The porch, what could have been the existing building has changed so much that the fabric doesn't seem historic or not historic, but it doesn't seem like it's in its historic state. Therefore, it does seem like it should be allowed to move or go.
Okay. So I think everybody on the board has weighed in. So my thought would be that if this did go, that I would like to see something similar in a simplistic form on Washington Street that sort of held back to this facade. So a simpler form going along Washington Street. So do I hear a motion?
I would like to ask Holly if she has anything for house staff before we vote.
Right. Very good.
Madam Chair, I already read that to you all
Mhm.
previously.
And what
That's
they say in a nutshell, because I
Well,
bet you anything, it's 2:30 or something.
Again, here's the photographs that they provided. That the section of the existing building closest to Washington Street appears to be on the 23 Sanborn map, which is here. Again, there's a few, questions on here. Obviously, it was moved back to create the parking in the 1980s. Obviously, I think we can all discern that that's when they added a additional window up in the gable end, added the porch, moved it back. Maybe pulling the building permit file that was done in the 80s would give some more information. But nonetheless, they did have concerns on, wanted me to provide these photographs to you. So yeah, and that the demo should be reconsidered with this new evidence.
Can you go back to the existing photo? Because the roof pitch looks so different. That roof pitch, I mean, the whole roof was taken off at some point.
So what?
If I may, Carrie's absolutely correct. The building was extensively modified. The roof, there were dormers added, all the windows were changed, the porch was added. And of course, most notably, the entire rear addition and elements, which currently make up more than 50% of the structure.
So maybe somebody can help me here. Remember when we used to see what was proposed before we demoed? That
We
there
have
was-
seen it.
what?
We have.
Madam
seen it.
Chair,
Yes.
the application that was before this one, I'm the one who asked for the demo move to be reviewed first. You do have an application that you are reviewing to replace this.
Right, but I guess we have to go back and forth. I mean, you can't do one without the other. So it's you don't want to demo something until you're sure of what it's going to be, and then you don't want to see something and then not be able to, and then say, no, you can't demo. So,
Madam Chairperson,
hold on I just want to get the temperature of the board on this. Does anybody else want to see what's proposed before we vote on this?
I think you should.
Okay.
It's a good idea. It's what we're supposed to do.
Stephen,
Yeah, Madam Chair, I don't have a concern about that. I would, however, state that I think we need to, if we're going to be trying to hold to a silhouette, we need to be really clear on what that silhouette is, because it appears as though, as Carrie mentioned, the roof has changed and perhaps the silhouette itself is not what we're
Right.
looking, I'm not interested in replicating a silhouette from, the 80s. If there's a 1890s silhouette, I think that that's fair personally, much
Yeah,
as
no,
we've done in the past.
I think
So
I would,
that's my only comment. If
And
there's something to refer back to, I say track. If there's not, then I say we move ahead.
okay, Val. Do you want to see what's proposed?
Well, I just want to comment on that, and I'm not on the demo.
Yeah.
We have reviewed the next application several times. It's been approved, and he's asking for changes to that approval. So I think that should be kept in mind, and that approval, I believe, is still valid.
If I might add, Madam Chair, if you look at this lower right photo, I think it's been said, but I'll reiterate it, I don't believe that the board would want to see this existing form
Right.
and roofs and quarter windows and rambling, eclecticness replicated. So
Okay, all right, well, let's, does anybody want to make a motion?
Madam Chairperson,
Yes,
I would like to make a statement first. First, I'll make a statement that number 4 should be done before number 3. It's very important in this situation because you don't know where it's going. So you shouldn't vote to demolish something when it's going to be removed. or demolished.
Can I,
I'll make a motion that we freeze this one at the moment and go to number 4 and do the move off and demo first, because you don't know what you're going to put there. So I would suggest that you do number 4 before you do number 3. And then you can have an open field to do what you want there. And I think that's what we should do, is to go to number 4 first.
yeah,
It's a
We're
motion.
on number 4.
okay, no, but you understand what he means. So, Stephen, did you want to make a quick note before that?
yeah, I disagree, because as Val pointed out, that what's going to go there has already been approved. So what Chip is in for is some roof walk and other changes on an already approved structure for this lot.
Oh,
So,
so this is sort of
unless-
ex post facto.
yeah, well,
This is
so,
already gone, so,
Often get demos before we get the proposed.
well, and especially when it's already been approved, the replacement.
Yeah.
all right.
You know
this
what? The other thing I'd like to
exercise
add,
in-
Madam Chair, is there's just not enough bourbon in the world. That's all I
Yeah.
wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I know that. And so I don't know, so do I hear a motion to approve this, a move off demo then?
So moved.
Okay, who was that, Stephen?
Yep.
Yeah, so Valerie, on Steve's motion,
On this.
I'm not on the demo.
oh, for Christ's sake. Carrie,
Aye.
Diane,
No,
John,
Would you repeat the motion, please?
the- it's in favor of the move off demo, by Stephen
It
Welsh.
doesn't make sense to demolish something if you don't know where it's going.
Oh,
It might
Well-
not get demolished, it might move. Do
okay.
they want to move it? Where to?
But John, they've already, it's already been approved and they're just looking for renovations.
Oh,
Okay, I think, because it's a piece of junk this building is visually.
Yeah, nobody
Yeah.
wants to see that, so he's going for a renovation. So,
agree.
are you in favor or not of Stephen's motion?
If the motion is to move a demo,
Yes,
yes, I'm in favor of it.
you're in favor of it,
Now,
okay.
show me what you can put there.
And Carrie, you said,
I already said aye, yep.
yep, and I'm an aye, so that passes. Thank you, board, for, is it like 4 in the afternoon or 4 in the morning now?
yeah. Hence
It
my comment about
depends.
the bourbon.
Depends on where you are. It's sometimes somewhere, everywhere.
You finish
I
it.
think we might be able to knock out this other one. It's pretty straightforward with our current
Yeah,
proposals on this. So if I
think
can share, can I share the screen, please?
Give it to Mr. Webster.
All righty, Zoom meeting, share screen, and up it comes. All right, did that come up okay for everyone?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna, so just to kind of walk through this, we do have an existing approval and was referenced in the previous thing, the COVID extension means that it's still valid. So we are very simply looking for some proposed modifications to an existing approval. Right here, we have the existing approval. We have what we had previously submitted, and there were two clear directives from the board. One was there was consensus that our proposal to shift that main gable was not being well received. And the second was we were adding some proposed additional exterior detailing on some of the secondary mass support, and that was not well received. So this is right here is what we are now proposing, which is virtually identical to our existing approval with two, on the street side, two modifications. The gable portion, let me say, the overall width of the building is identical. In this, we're making the primary proportion, the gable element, a little wider and the secondary element a little skinnier. We feel that's an improvement because that more clearly delineates the hierarchy of the primary and secondary masses, where our current approval is more like a approximately 50-50 mix. The other proposed revision on the street side elevation is we currently have two transom style windows approved on that secondary element. We're asking to see if we might be able to get a shed dormer instead at that location. Moving around to the water side, I'm sorry. Here's the existing approval. We were proposing some additional fenestration, again, not well received by the board. So right now we are merely proposing putting the same fenestration on the second floor as what is currently approved on the, I'm sorry, on the first floor is what is currently approved on the second floor. And then as we'll see on the side elevations, there's some proposed stair and deck revisions proposed for those sides. So I'll share with you. This is our existing approval, our previous submission, and our current submission. On the existing approval, there's a second floor deck element, which we're proposing to remove and replace with a side stair that comes up to the first floor, as well as some rearrangement of some of the fenestration. And then last but not least, on the north side, which is really not visible, it faces into the courtyard of that harbor, whatever it's harbor something. Right now, this is what's approved, and we're proposing changing a window configuration, the first floor, as well as adding a couple of shallow walkout decks on the first and second floor. So I'll go back to the street side and turn over to the board for comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip. We got to be pretty quick on this because other people have other things to do. So we're
Madam
gonna.
Chair,
Yes, go,
I
go.
do have HSAB comments. They looked at this revisions at January 18th. Before this building is approved at this elevation, evidence from an engineer or surveyor needs to be presented to verify the required height. On a side note, Resilient Nantucket has been adopted since the approval of this building, and we should know where the DFE and BFE is in relationship. This Greek revival style is too formal for this section of the waterfront. Historically, this area had utilitarian boat houses and much simpler Quaker style houses. On the west, the 4-bay gable forward layout is very unusual and proportionately out of scale. Flush shed dormer overwhelms the roof line and should be narrower with greater setbacks. The front door, the front stairs leads to an unidentified platform. The roof walk is too wide and with an awkward center post sitting on the ridge. On the south, despite previous requests, there is still no telescoping down of the additive masses. The plate height is a full 2 stories. These masses should step down towards the back. The elevated rear decks are much deeper than the normally approved. The second floor decks used to be limited to 8 feet and should still be. There's a nod to John. The first floor deck is at the normal second floor level. So is 2 should be reduced. On the east, which is the harbor side, it's too tall, no additive massing, and both levels are identical. There should be some variation in fenestration with less glass on the upper level than the lower level. In general, the details need to be toned down for a simpler appearance, and the masses to the rear need to be greatly reduced in height. And HSAB does respectfully request any revisions back if you're so inclined. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Holly. Who would like to go first?
I'll go.
Okay, thank you, Diane.
I agree with what Hashab has said almost completely. It's got too many windows on the east elevation. It doesn't look like anything that faces the harbor. It's, as they said, it's an identical second floor, first floor. The first floor is too high, and that cement block or whatever it is where the front steps come down to have been asked several times what it is and what the height is. We still don't see any engineering information on how much they need to raise the building in this place. And I think in these harbor things, we have got to have the information because it's going to come up continually. So people should get used to having to use it. I agree with what else is said. The windows, this is supposed to be across the harbor, which was supposed to be in the harbor. This is not Cliff Road and the rest of it. It's supposed to be simple buildings. And this is not in any way a simple harbor building, which grew from being shacks or the rope walk or anything else. So that's what I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Stephen?
Chairperson,
Yes, John?
yes.
Wait a
Aye,
minute,
yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Terry?
you're not on this.
Who?
This has a different board.
Who isn't on it?
You aren't. This is Diane, John, Val, and Carrie.
Oh, Diane, could you, oh, that's right. Oh, my God. Diane, I'm so sorry. Could you take over before we get, brought to jail?
Madam
So,
Chair, I can
Val,
solve this.
Val, what you got to say?
What have I got to say?
Yes, Johnny, what have you got to say?
Okay, I'll make a motion to hold this to the first thing Tuesday, because there's too much glass here. You got well over 75% of glass. You got more, make changes on this before we approve it, but you should discuss it. So I make a motion to hold this to Tuesday.
Okay, okay. Val,
Get
Oliver,
outta here.
I have a question about that motion. That means he wants changes done without everybody giving their opinion on what the changes should be, or we will start over on Tuesday.
no, we should continue on. He's made a motion which has not been, which I have not put on the floor, and it has not been voted on, okay? If we're asking for revisions, we should at least let the applicant know what revisions we had in mind.
We're
Right.
on the wrong
If-
street.
if-
That's-
He's
Madam
just
Chair, if I
comforting
may,
that.
it seems like, if I may, I'm totally comfortable that the end is going to be being held for revisions. And if we could just get a couple of comments quickly, I
That's
think
what
we
I'm-
could.
That's what I'm headed, that's what I'm headed for, Chip, okay?
Okay, yeah,
It's after 2:30. Make a motion to hold this. to-
Johnny, I
Yeah.
am holding the motion, please.
What is the
Until
motion?
we are holding it until the other people get to speak. You don't get to close down the meeting with a motion and want an answer right away. All I want is other commissioners to get to speak
It's
and
2:30.
say what they feel too. So I've asked Val to give me an opinion.
I agree
That-
with HSAB for the most part. I think Chip, to go back to your original one, the proportions were better, it was simpler. The widening of the gable, I think, is pretty much what's working against you, because the pitches now become so low and there's so many windows. So I agree with what's been said, and that's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So, the next person is
Me,
What is-
Carrie.
Carrie.
Thank you. I agree with HSAB wholeheartedly. The 3-bay was working much better than the 4-bay. I also think the secondary mast to the right is too close to the street. I think it needs to get pushed back, and telescoping is hugely important. And fenestration needs a lot less on the second floor. And I agree with the height determination by an engineer. The second stair on the front of the building, I don't think that's appropriate. Yeah, that faces the street. You can see it going straight up. If you go to the rear elevation, oh, same thing, those decks, the depths of the decks are way too much. Somehow mitigating the sort of stacked exact fenestration from floor to floor on the water side. That's it.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. You have 15
Johnny, all right, you want to make your motion now?
It's after 2:30.
To hold it?
We're supposed to be out of here by 2:30. So we keep doing this.
No, we are on from, John, could you make your motion?
I'll make a motion that we hold this to Tuesday. All right,
Hold for revisions.
Tuesday meeting, the first thing, and we'll start from scratch on this one. I'll tell you. It's
No,
taking too
we're
much-
not starting from,
Yes,
right,
Diane,
well,
it's taking too much time.
we'll run that motion. Carrie, what do you want to do on starting from scratch on Tuesday?
No. This is midway, we're
Okay.
midway through.
Val, what? Right,
I agree with
that-
Carrie. No, we're not starting over. And I do have a comment before this meeting adjourns.
okay, All right, and also am a no. So Johnny, that motion fails. 3 to
I'll
1.
make, okay, I'll make another motion. All right, we're gonna stop this. It's after 2:30. There's people who want to go home. All right,
It's
I'll
didn't
make a
talk so
motion
long.
that
It
we
was
adjourn. I make a motion that we adjourn.
fine.
Okay. Call-
We,
would you
I'm
call the
sorry,
roll?
you cannot adjourn. You have an open project. A motion must be made, John. Yours did not pass. We need a new motion on this project. We need it
Alright.
now.
I'll make
Val,
one.
thank you. Okay,
Uh,
thank you. Quick.
Motion to hold for revisions.
Thank you very much. Gary,
Aye.
Val,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
motion to hold for revisions, and I'm an aye. So that's 4 holding for revisions. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Now I
Thank
turn
you,
it back
everyone.
over to,
Motion to adjourn.
I am running the meeting, Johnny. Would you just wait a minute? We do have something else that we have to do. So,
We
uh,
voted.
would you tell me what you want to say?
I was just going to say in general, it is a struggle to do this meeting by Zoom. There is no doubt. And for a variety of reasons, everybody's issues are different, whether their computer's working or there's not enough bandwidth. But there are some things we can do to make this process easier. And I've said it before, is to take the time and try to review some applications before the meeting. It really helps and would move things along a lot quicker. That's all I
Yeah,
have to say.
You're absolutely right. I have been going to HashTab, so I get what they're reviewing to jot down. And although I can't get out, I review as much as possible that have got drawings that I can reach. And I think if you have the time to serve, then you have the time to do some of the work that goes along with serving. And I think you're right, very right. And thank you. So can I get now a motion, Johnny, to adjourn for the day and meeting on Tuesday, 5 o'clock?
So
Johnny?
moved.
Thank you. So Carrie,
Aye.
Val,
Aye.
Abby, aye.
take- and John, you're
Motion
on
is
your
to
motion?
adjourn, yes.
Okay, so that passes. And
Okay. See you Tuesday.
that's it. Thank you.